What is up, YouTube? So Steve Nash was fired. Ime Udoka is likely to be his replacement for the Brooklyn Nets. This isn't particularly surprising. However, it is something that I feel is necessary for this Nets team. I think from the get-go, Steve Nash suffered from never being a head coach in the NBA before. Kyrie Irving and KD very clearly were saying, oh, well, some nights he can coach and then, we can coach. And that don't fly for successful teams. The coach has to be the main decision maker, the main voice in the locker room for any team that wants to be successful and run, a competent offense and a competent defense, because there needs to be accountability. People need to respect the coach. And while they do respect him as a player, they don't respect him as a coach. And he never got the opportunity to prove himself as a coach because he didn't get to coach. That being said, he did, in fact, have a fairly long amount of time with this team, so it's definitely time to move on. Things aren't going to get any better. And that's just the way it is. I think Steve Nash will get another opportunity, and he will be a good head coach in the NBA. However, it is what it is. Moving on, Ime Udoka, the fact that I originally kind of did a video like this when the news first popped out, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what happens. Because right now they're just saying, oh, Jack Vaughn, like the assistant, is the head coach, and I felt that wasn't going to be a permanent situation or a situation that lasted very long, and I was right. Ime Udoka, man. Gotta say, that's a lot better than Steve Nash. Ime Udoka turned that Boston Celtics squad and completely flipped it around. Maybe you can do the same thing for the Brooklyn Nets. However, I do feel that the Brooklyn Nets have issues far beyond what Steve Nash was. Ben Simmons clearly isn't healthy. KD and Kyrie have been inconsistent with their effort. Well, KD hasn't. KD's been putting in the work. I will say. However, we don't really have very many good on-ball defenders. You would think Ben Simmons would be that, but his back is he's clearly not. He's clearly afraid of bumping into people, whether that is because he is afraid to be fouled, or what I think is far more likely, he's afraid he's going to hurt his back. And I think that gets overlooked quite a bit by quite a few people, where they're just like, oh, Ben Simmons is afraid to get fouled. Like, I don't think he's afraid to get fouled. I think he's afraid he's going to re-injure his back and be out for another XYZ number of months. And then he's just fucked, because everybody's going to see him having been injured, having been all this other shit. And he's not going to get another contract because he could be out. Backs are tricky. His back could very well ruin his career. The Nets are in trouble. We'll see if they can turn it around with Ime Udoka. I will say I think they're not completely beyond saving. They've got Seth Curry in the wings. They've got TJ Warren in the wings. There's hope on the horizon for this team, but it's not a lot of hope. The change needs to come from within, and hopefully that's what this move does. Moving past the Brooklyn Nets, the Phoenix Suns did I overthink this? Is the number one seed in the West just going to be the Phoenix Suns? I think it is at this point, right? Barring, obviously we're only 7 games into the season, but it very well just might be the Phoenix Suns. They look really, really good. Cam Johnson's looking like a starter. Devin Booker's looking like a first-team All-NBA player more than he looked like a first-team All-NBA player last year, if I'm being perfectly honest, because I don't think he deserved the first All-NBA first team. Yeah, he's looking fantastic. Chris Paul looks old. He's not got that same burst, but he's still CP three-point god, excellent passer. Like, if he's running your offense, you're getting good looks, and the game against the Timberwolves, excellent example of that. No turnovers. Amazing. And this is I think this is his second game in a row of no turnovers, and he's got 20-something assists over the course of the 2 games. He's crushing it. the Timberwolves, I might have overranked them based on my belief that Anthony Edwards was going to make a leap and Rudy Gobert is Rudy Gobert. I think I might be ready to rescind that at this point in the season. I think Anthony Edwards is going to make another leap. It might happen this season. It might not. I still think it can happen in the season, but the reason I'm kind of rescinding what I said about the trade specifically, not the team, is Rudy Gobert. He's playing defense like he's on the Jazz, which sounds good because he's a 3-time DPOY on the Jazz, and that's the way he plays defense, but man, it looks rough. It really, really looks rough. And it looks rough in a way where I feel like this team has at least the option of some slightly better perimeter defenders than the Utah Jazz did. And he doesn't trust his teammates in order to leave underneath the basket. Now, if you look at the plus minus, when it's just him on the floor, big minus. When it's just Karl Anthony Towns on the floor, big minus. When they're both on the floor together, they're actually outscoring teams. They have a net rating of +2 something. I don't know how it changed exactly how it changed in the Phoenix Suns game because they lost that game. So it might have gone down, but they've been playing well with the two of them on the floor. And it makes sense because with another center on the floor, Rudy Gobert feels somewhat comfortable being able to actually go out and defend somebody taking a three-pointer or whatever. And he can actually get his hands up as opposed to on the Jazz and when Karl Anthony Towns is not on the floor, where he just feels like he has to remain under the basket the entire time or nobody's going to get a rebound. I think that's wrong-minded even when Karl Anthony Towns isn't on the floor because they have some pretty big bodies that can rebound. And Jalen Noel, they've got Anthony Edwards, who's pretty big and can jump. Like, as long as they crash the glass, that's not going to be an issue, I think. And I think the team would be better for them living with giving up a couple of offensive rebounds and Rudy Gobert actually trusting his teammates. I think in the long run, that's going to be what's better for them. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of how I feel. I also kind of feel that out of the three teams that made like big offseason trades, Hawks, Pelicans, Timberwolves, I think it's safe to say that those three teams are probably going to succeed in a major way, and one of them is going to fail. And right now, it looks like that one is going to be the Timberwolves. Not that they're going to fail, but as far as seeing market improvement, they could just end up being another play-in team, a play-in team for another year. So I don't know. I think if I was a betting man, 2 of the 3 teams would be really good, not 3. And we're looking at that. Beyond that, the Warriors bench sucks. The Warriors bench is that the Warriors starters were up like 10 points on the Heat starters, and then they put this 5-man lineup. This is the 5-man lineup that has been killing the Warriors. Ty Jerome, Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, JaMychal Green, James Wiseman. This 5-man lineup fucking sucks. Every time I see them on the floor, they're getting blown out by teams. Like, just blown out. And it's a combination of defense and lack of offensive shot making, and it's clearly problematic. And I guess it's the lack of Dante DiVincenzo and the fact that we're running Ty Jerome. But, man, the fact it just feels like nobody really understands what they're doing out there, and it doesn't feel like they're capable of running the Warriors system with that 5. Now, does Dante DiVincenzo, who's out, fix that? Maybe. I find it hard to believe that he's going to be the big thing that turns the whole season around. So what does that mean to me? It means to me that there needs to be some changes. I like JaMychal Green as an addition. I think he's gotten more PT than we expected because Kuminga clearly isn't ready. And this year is looking more and more like the season's not going to be fantastic. It's all going to be about what happens in the postseason if we can get there with at least a decent seed. I will say I was quick to put the Warriors as the 1 seed based off of their title run. And I think I might have underestimated how big of an impact Steph Curry had on that and how much work Kuminga specifically and Wiseman specifically. Well, Wiseman I always kind of knew. Kuminga specifically had to do. Because Moody's playing well. We have also Clay. Clay's been rough. He's still getting his legs under him. He's missing all of his shots short, all of them. So once he gets his legs under him, I think we'll be seeing those shots fall. So I think the Warriors will still be really competitive and are contenders, but there is cause for worry. The Knicks, meanwhile, it's the opposite problem. Their bench, as always, has been awesome, and the starters have not been well. That being said, I think it's not as bad as it was last year. Jalen Brunson has added a lot to that lineup, and Julius Randle is playing well again. However, Mitchell Robinson constantly fouling out and constantly being in foul trouble is screwing the team over. Not being able to have our starting center, who's our main defensive anchor, on the floor for most of the game sucks. And we get destroyed on the inside every time. And when we were really good, we had Nerlens Noel as the backup, who's a great defensive, well, not great, but that year he was a great defensive center. He averaged like the fourth most blocks in the league, like the third most blocks in the league. Played really well for us. So as good as Isaiah Hartenstein is, that's not what he is as a player. So there's a lot to go over and lots to think about as far as that goes. I don't really know what the solution is for the Knicks other than some time and maybe a midseason acquisition. Dwight Howard's still in the market. I think getting Dwight Howard could help us eat up some of those minutes that are currently, going to Isaiah Hartenstein when we really need a defensive big out there. And it's not because Isaiah Hartenstein doesn't give us value somewhere else. It's just what our specific team needs. And sometimes it needs Hartenstein because he's fantastic, but sometimes we need some defense. And that's why we need Dwight Howard. I think that's really all that I've been thinking about. I don't really think that there's anything else. So leave a comment, please. Nobody's commenting on any of my stuff, and I think the algorithm's just kind of forgotten that I've existed. Not that it ever knew I existed, but that's exactly how I hate it. Wait, what? Leave a like, comment which team you are keeping your eye out for as far as success or failure, or if you thought one team was going to do well at the start of the season and now you think they're going to be trash. Flip what I just said. That's the Grizzlies. I thought the Grizzlies were going to be way worse than they actually are. And I think it's because of Ja and Desmond Bane. And I think Desmond Bane's going to be all-star. I said that in a previous video. All right, thank you. Comment, like, subscribe. Goodbye.